we know that books and films are utterly different from each other, but I'm quite interested to get from you some detail about that, how that difference determines the act of adaptation for you. Like, what are the key things you go through when you're sitting down, you've got a new commission? How do you handle that?
I have a pretty specific process that I've kind of learned over the years. If I haven't read the book before, obviously I'll read it before I get the job. And if I know that I'm going for the job, I can't read the book to enjoy it. So I always hope that I've read the book beforehand. Otherwise, to me, it's already a very systematic read. I'm making notes. I'm sticking Post-its all over the thing. So by the end of my first read, it's kind of a mess. And then my process in adaptation is the first draft. I kind of give up to the original author because I think you've got to shake off the ghost of the author, but that takes at least a draft, I think. Because I think you just feel an obligation to the story that if the book has a following, you have some kind of obligation to the fans of the book. But then also you feel some kind of obligation to the original writer. And when you adapt a book from, someone like C.S. Lewis, who is like goes down as one of the best children's writers, that's a big thing to shake off too. So my first draft is always just it's horrible generally because it doesn't feel like what you want. It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like something between the script and the book, because all I've really done is try and honour the book, and in the process I've kind of created something that's neither fish nor fowl. So it's only after that I'll read the script and almost assess the script as a script and then go, well, that's awful and those characters are redundant, and I start mixing and matching and cutting things out. And by the end of that process, I have a pretty good idea of where I want to take the second draft, and then that really is the beginning of screenwriting for an adaptation for me.
Can you talk specifically about The Book Thief in terms of what you felt you wanted to retain in that book and what you felt had to be thrown out of that book?
Yeah, I mean, Marcus's book is like a treasure trove of beautiful characters and events, and it's 570 odd pages, so I'm trying to get it down to 120 double-spaced pages, which is, so you have to forfeit a lot. So the first thing you do is, I wanted to maintain the heart of the piece and the intention of the piece, which I think is a very wry and sad look at life and suffering and and innocence. So I think there are the three things that I was trying to maintain from the book. And so in the process of that, I had to. There's a whole section that just ended up not in the screenplay, between when Liesl first meets Rudy and then they meet a whole gang of street urchins and they do some thievery and all that. That just got tossed. I just couldn't fit in the film. So we had to really keep on point, and the point was the book thief. So it didn't matter that they stole apples.
And when you were talking about adapting C.S. Lewis, you made it sound to me like it was more your skills were the skills you needed were more mediation skills and sort of being a political animal skills. Can you than writing? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that project was, just to give a very, very brief history of the project. So that was the third Narnia movie. The first one did extremely well. The second one, I think, the studio was disappointed in the box office, and so, suddenly they're not so keen to spend as much money on the third. So that was happening. It had changed studios from Universal to Fox, which is how I really got the job, because I had a relationship at Fox. But along with that came a director from the previous film who then became a producer, but he was very, very strong-willed in his opinion. He kind of felt like he had created the franchise, and so his opinion was very important. You had the studio's opinion, you had the producer's opinion, and then on top of that you had the executor of the estate of C.S. Lewis, who had creative control. Like he had a creative approval over everything. So that was like a real difficult dance to try and satisfy all those things, as well as try and adapt something which is kind of difficult to adapt, because of all of C.S. Lewis's books, there's no real villain in that piece. And so without a villain, like, this really hard to like pit the kids against something. So we kind of had to create stuff and ask permission to borrow villains from other books in the series. So there's a lot of politicking going on with that.